Good afternoon. My name is Zach, and thank you for joining me for a wonderful Wednesday. If you're a first-time viewer to the William Street Swap Shop, today we will not be swapping. That's the number one rule. First rule of Swap Shop on Wednesdays, don't talk about Swap Shop. Well, you can, but just don't talk about swaps. Because my partner, my colleague, my business associate, Matt, he is in meetings all day on Wednesdays. That's the truth. We've joked he's been in community service, he's on parole. The truth is he's just a busy executive. He comes on and it's very humble of him to do the show, but he's top executive at Turner and he's in meetings all day on Wednesdays. He told me when I started doing the show, I just can't get out of the meetings. So I said, all right, I'll do Swap Shop by myself. But I said, it's not fair to you for me to swap items. So how about we just swap stories with people? And that is what we're doing today. We're going to be swapping stories, tips, and tricks. And today is a very special episode. And I say that every Wednesday, but today it's very special because it's wonderful. Sit down, relax, take a look at yourself and make sure you're in one piece and you're healthy. And if you're ready to go on this journey, plug in the Ethernet cable, turn up the speakers, and make sure the Wi-Fi password, if you don't have an Ethernet cable, is locked in. You don't want to miss and buffer a second of this. So, without further ado, I will introduce my guest and what we'll be talking about today, and I invite you to call in to 413-961-4263. Give us a call. I'm in a great mood, good spirits, uplifting. I want everyone to be happy today, and that's what we're all about, is spreading happiness, positivity, and I would love for you to call in and chat with us today. Today, let me just do a quick poem, and that will be the theme of the episode, and we'll go right into our interview. You're crossing the seas of time, the skies, listening to music that rhymes, in an airplane, in a boat, going to another country to look perhaps at a moat, traveling the deserts, through the rainforests. Just be careful you don't get any mist on that electronic device. In some countries, they don't drink water with ice. So take that as a luxury, and you'll be sure to see all the great images, not from your phone or your computer, but in real life. And then you'll go home with a news story, and it will be full of glory. Today, we're talking about travel. So, joining me is probably one of the most traveled persons I am aware of that I personally know, besides Anthony Bourdain. And we will get into that. I don't know him, but we'll get into that shortly. I'm joined by Shannon McKnight. Shannon, I'm sorry, I've been rambling a lot.
No, I love it.
Great.
Please, I want to bathe in your poems.
Great, thank you. There might be a few more.
Very excited.
You are a traveler.
I am.
A world traveler.
Indeed.
You've been to many countries, and you're not stopping.
No.
Okay.
Can't stop, won't stop.
I'm all about travel. I love to travel. I love to see things and experience new cultures. There's a great quote by Mark Twain that says, "Travel is fatal to prejudice." So if you travel, you open up your world, you will no longer have judgment or meanness towards people, I believe. Go out and see something. Travel if you can. Even if you can't go to another country, it is expensive, but we'll talk about that today. Tips and tricks on how to get past those fees. It's expensive, but try and travel just to the next state. If you're in the United States, if you're watching this globally, well, you're already kind of traveling. So come and travel and visit us. We're here, we're friendly, I promise. And Shannon, what is exactly your position here at Adult Swim?
I'm a manager here, and I work on our music initiatives, including Adult Swim singles, as well as the free albums we give away, but also work on sold and promotions. So people want to give us money, I make sure they get what they want.
Okay.
And keep the network on TV and on the computer.
Wow. So you have a professional job, you're a young professional, and what better way than to spend your days off? We get a lot of paid time off.
We do.
Than to just go and chill in the tropics, the Bahamas, the Caribbean. What country is on your radar this year? Or place perhaps in the States, the United States?
Ooh. I think the biggest, I have two, I want to go there in life very soon. South Africa.
Okay.
And Japan.
Okay.
I've not been to either.
What about those two countries draws you?
I'd say South Africa just because it's so culturally different from here, but it's beautiful. I have friends that lived there when I was in college, and they loved it. It was so pretty, and then just the types of people you meet there are very eclectic and diverse, and that's really great. In Japan, I just feel like, especially for like Tokyo or larger cities, it's so different than here, and I just find that to be fascinating. Plus, I really want to go to that robot cafe.
Right. You see it shared on social media a lot. A lot of friends have gone there. So, what are countries you've been to in the past? What are some of your favorites?
I've been to Curacao. I've been to Spain.
Where's Curacao?
It's just north of Venezuela in the Caribbean.
Okay.
It's one of the islands near like Aruba
Okay.
and Bonaire. I lived in Spain for a summer in college. France, England, Ireland, Holland, Mexico,
Western Europe,
Canada.
Okay.
Yeah. So our hat to America, and then the pants of America.
Right. You've been throughout the United States.
I
A
have
lot of
been
people
through
don't
most of the
travel.
United States.
One of my favorite things, and we'll get into this, is the West. I love the West. It's beautiful. Once you cross into about Colorado and get into the Rockies, it's all of a sudden someone turned on the lights. Nice mountainous landscape
It's
coming
beautiful.
up, and it's every exit you're gonna see a nice, beautiful mountain or landscape.
Yep.
Before we get into too much travel talk, and I invite you watching this or listening to this, if you're working or you're in your office or you're running on the treadmill or whatever you're doing, if you have this as an iPad and you're pretending to read your Kindle, I invite you to call in and tell us your travel stories or ask for travel tips or anything you'd like to talk about, other countries, other regions, just a fun fact. Call in and give us a fun fact. Or if you don't have a phone line or you're traveling and you're on Wi-Fi, send us a question in the chat on adultswim.com/videos/streams. We're on the stream, but we're also traveling today. And Shannon, I just want to pitch to you. I have something lined up. I put together. I mentioned this on Monday on the show, on the Swap Shop. I mentioned this with Matt, that I am working on, and I'm very 100% serious about this. I'm working on a new show. It's a travel show. They're big right now. Everyone's watching them. When I go over to friends' places, they're always on Netflix watching the travel episodes of things. Hey, check this place out. Check out this good food and watch me eat it and how spicy it is and how I react. People like to see that, and I thought, what better way than for me to host a show like that?
Absolutely.
So you're in sponsorship marketing, and I'm wanting to get your opinion on this travel pitch I put together, and hopefully in the coming weeks I'll put together a real show, but right now here's just a little taste to get an idea of what this is all about, and let's go ahead and roll that taste. Come with me. I'm going on a quest. This is No Limits Anthony Bourdain with Zach White. And that's No Limits, Anthony Bourdain with Zach White. It's going to be a big travel show. We're going to go all over the world to places you've never even heard of, and places you wish you could go to. I'm going to be there trying the local food and ziplining. There will be lots of ziplining. Check it out. It's going to be a big travel hit. If you like to travel, you're going to love this show. They're going to put it on airports. They're going to put it everywhere where people travel. It's going to be promoted big time. It's going to get a lot of ratings. People are going to be talking about it. Check it out. No Limits, Anthony Bourdain with Zach White. It's going to be a hit. So, what do you think? No Limits, No Limits, this is better, Anthony Bourdain. Sorry, move aside. You stay in your country. I'm
he
traveling.
has no references of ziplining.
Right.
Like, that's clearly where he is at fault in not giving us what we need, what the people need. I think it's awesome.
Great, thank you. So I'm thinking the first
this.
episode, I'm going to go camping or go somewhere in the woods and do it just solo and find out if it works. And I promise viewers watching this, hey, have I ever broken a promise to you? It's going to happen. I'm going to make an episode of it, and it's going to be on a wonderful Wednesday coming up soon.
I think it's awesome. I'm very much looking forward to watching this.
So what do you think? What's your favorite thing about traveling? Is it the food, the people, the scenery, or something else?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is the scenery, and not just in terms of, like you mentioned, the Rockies, and it's just gorgeous landscape, but in Europe, depending on where you are, you're in a major city, but you're seeing things and experiencing things there that you wouldn't see if you were here.
Right.
So I think that and it kind of brings you to a different perspective. Like, this is what someone's world looks like every day.
Correct.
And our world here looks so different. So that's fascinating. When I travel, I like to do the Airbnb thing and live and act as if I'm living in these countries to better understand how people move, how people get around, what people see, and what they experience if they live here.
Right. Hello, welcome to the William Street Swap Shop. This is a wonderful Wednesday. Come on in. Come on.
Hi.
Hi, who is this?
My name is Josh. First of all, great show as always.
Thank you.
I got a good travel story.
Sure, let's hear it.
I'm calling you from Boston, by the way, but I was in India.
Okay.
And it was when the third Batman film came out, the Dark Knight Rises.
Right, with Bane as the main villain. Everyone's big favorite film.
And I'm in India when it's coming out, and I'm sitting in the crowd at the opening, and there's a scene where Bane is robbing a bank, and they rob the bank, and the first time you see Batman coming after the motorcycles, and the whole place erupted when Batman showed his face for the first time. And the whole place jumped for joy and cheered, and they were screaming more loud than you see in America. And I was like thinking in my head, man, this is pretty cool. I'm in India, and people are losing their minds for Batman. So
wow.
You learn to travel, you learn that people are basically the same.
Right, and you find out, I think one thing that, a lot of people like around the world is movies, and who makes movies really well is Hollywood, making the big hits, and that's great. So they were excited to see Batman. What were you doing in India?
I was in the northern part of the country for about 7 weeks working with a non-governmental organization.
Okay.
And in 2010, so we did some cool stuff. But
how did you like living there? Was it a shock? Was it the transition living from the United States to a country? They say the water. You have to be careful with the drinking water.
Absolutely, those are all factors, but it's the coolest place in the world. I mean, I met a girl there. The people are the nicest people in the world. They opened up their homes, and they would come and play music till 2 in the morning.
Wow.
It's just...
And how about that food? Indian food is some of my favorite food. Shannon, do you like Indian food?
I love Indian food.
It's the best.
What's your favorite Indian food?
I like anything with lentils or potatoes. If it's mashed down with a curry sauce and some of that basmati rice and some naan. We're going on travel. That's a travel episode right there.
Just go get some Indian food.
What about you?
I mean, everything you said is true, but my goal was to find the spiciest food. And, they had some chicken that would make anything American spicy not feel spicy at all.
Wow.
But you know what they love there? Is pad thai.
Pad thai.
Pad thai is good. I can understand it.
Right, and I guess that, India is considered an Asian country for those that a lot of people think, India's not really in Asia. It's considered in Asia. Yeah. And maybe there was an influence in pad thai, and they said, let's just try it out. And maybe their version of Anthony Bourdain brought it back.
Good point.
Definitely go there. It's a great country.
That's fantastic. Have you been in any other countries, or is that your favorite one you've been to?
I went to Ecuador. That was really cool. I went to Canada. That was fantastic. I've been to Israel.
Wow.
But India definitely tops the list.
Okay, world traveler, Josh. You're going to be our special travel correspondent, Josh, whenever we need to address.
Hey, if I could work for Adult Swim, that's cool for me. Anything you guys need, you guys are the best people in the world.
Oh, thank you so much. The story is great. It almost made me feel like I was in the cinema watching that. And it's very humbling to know that people will enjoy. You go and see a movie and we just take it for granted, but then someone who might not see movies that often or doesn't get to see them, it's a luxury. It becomes a really fantastic experience.
I really appreciate you saying that, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Josh, and thank you for calling in, and we're going to go ahead and let other people call in and tell more stories. And I have a travel story I'd like to share with Shannon. So thank you so much, Josh. Have a great, wonderful Wednesday.
Have a great day, you too.
Thank you. Shannon, I went to Italy for the first time. It was the first time I ever left the country in 2014. I was 25 years old. So, and I went with a coworker. If you saw in the No Limits video, I went with Zach Crane, a marketing specialist. He's a marketing manager now. At the time, I think he was just a marketing coordinator. He didn't let it get to his head, though. We were still both just regular travel guys. We flew business.
Very important.
Yeah, second class, not first class. We went to Italy together. We went to Milan. We went to Verona and Venice. And then I broke my ways and went to a bunch of other countries north of Italy. There's that picture of Zach and I in Verona. We were on a bridge in Italy. We just got done eating some pizza, and Zach had horse that day. He ate horse.
You look so content.
He does. Look at him. He's happy. I'm taller than him in that photo, and a lot of people think Zach is tall. But
You're rather tall.
Right. Thank you. I might have been standing on the sidewalk, and he might have been standing in the road, but
this picture will live forever with you being taller than Zach Crane.
And that's correct. You mentioned staying in Airbnbs. That's the first tip we want to talk about.
Absolutely.
I've only stayed in one Airbnb, but before that, I stayed in hostels where I slept in a communal space in bunk beds. It was great. It was like a summer camp. And Zach and I stayed, our first hostel we stayed in. The man at the front desk checked us in, and he knew, he's like, hey, you don't have any hair, but he gave me a hairnet. He was joking. He's like, you're going to shower, you're going to need this.
Nice.
And he gave me the hairnet. And then he said, then he invited me out with him and his friends and said, you have very beautiful eyes. And I looked at him, and at the time I was very humbled because I thought, wow, I'm an American. There's so many more pretty people in Italy, but this guy has a crush on me.
And I bet you took it and you're like, thank you, sir.
Yeah, he invited us out with his friends, and we ended up not going out. I think I might have told some of the story before in Swap Shop before, but that was the first experience I ever had with a local. He worked at the hostel in Milan. And then I ended up just walking around, making new friends. I love to make friends. I find out if I meet you and I think you're great, I end up hanging out with you and going camping with you. It doesn't take much for me to attach to you and become a friend.
But you're a very friendly guy. You like to talk to people, get to know people.
I love to walk and chat.
Exactly.
And take in the scenery.
And that's important.
That's right. So after you check into the Airbnb, what's the next tip?
So usually, if I'm checking in an Airbnb, I like to, usually you're checking in with the person that owns it or lives there. And I will usually ask them, like, what do you recommend I do within a mile or kilometer, depending on where you are, of here? And what kinds of things, if you could only stay here for a few days, what would you do?
Right.
What is your most important things to do in this city?
The local experience.
Absolutely. And so far that has never done me wrong. I've found a lot of restaurants off the beaten path that are fantastic, a lot of experiences that you wouldn't find in a guidebook. And I've just met a lot of really great people that way, just going to where someone recommends and they say, oh, I'll tell my friend that you're coming.
Right.
And that's almost like a currency that doesn't really have a true value, but it's wonderful when you're in a place and you don't know anyone.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's pretty great.
When I went and traveled, I think the next tip I would say is, this is something I'll address on No Limits as well, is turn off the cell phone. Because if you don't pay for a data plan, it's going to cost you a lot of money.
So true.
I learned that the hard way. When I first landed, I printed out maps. I use MapQuest all the time. I don't use GPS. I printed out all my MapQuest maps. It showed me from the direction of the airport. And I even remember thinking, no one's going to fool me in Milan when I landed and try and make me pay 80 euros for a 5-minute taxi ride. I thought, I'm going to walk from the airport to my hostel. So I walked out of the airport and to my hostel. And it was a good 2-hour walk. As I was walking, I remember I was looking at the map and thinking the street name had changed. It happens a lot. You're walking down William Street, and then all of a sudden it becomes Ted Turner Boulevard. That happens. It's not rare. And as I was walking, I realized, wait, the street name changed. Am I still going in the right direction? I was trying to find Wi-Fi. I couldn't find it. Everyone was speaking Italian. I thought I should probably turn on my phone as my last resource. I guiltily, I turned on the phone. I looked down at it, and it said, "You accept to using your data." I said, "Yeah, of course." And then that put me on the map, realigned me. I said, "Okay, I'm going in the right direction." I turned it off real quick. Hopefully that didn't. I thought maybe it's still on the satellite in the U.S. I won't get charged. Well, that night I got a text message from my phone company that said I got charged $60 for doing that.
Oof.
So I turned off my phone and relied on the map every time. So then after that, I took trains. I was in Prague, and I took a train and walked to my hostel, and that was another few miles away. And it was great. I was like, it's a great way to explore the city. I think walking, I cannot speak highly enough of walking. You don't have to worry about getting ripped off, paying a lot of money for a taxi cab. You get to see the city, you get exercise, and you hear the locals. You're walking through the train station, you walk by people. It's just a great way. When I was in Prague, someone tried to take items out of my backpack twice. They walked by and unzipped it. I thought, what better way to experience the culture and be in a foreign country and learn what it feels like to be traveling by yourself. And it is a little scary, but it's great.
Well, I have 2 tips for you based off your story.
Sure, let's hear it.
One is actually from Dana Swanson.
Okay.
On Google Maps, you can actually offline map an entire city. You can favorite things, so where your hostel is, where a restaurant is, what have you. And it doesn't charge to your GPS, so you can have your data off, and you'll be able, based on your GPS location, just from like the satellite, I guess,
You
can
favorite
track
it and it stores
yourself.
that? Wow.
So you can track yourself and where you're going.
Had I known that.
Well, I don't know if it was around then. It was very helpful for me in Amsterdam when I went this year, because Amsterdam is built in a circle. So the center point is the train station, and everything else is built in a circle around it, which makes it very challenging to try to find a street that goes straight. So I would constantly get turned around just because the streets were counter to what I'm used to here. And I would just follow my map offline on my phone, and that way
it worked.
No $60 charge.
Wow. So what? And then you could spend the $60 on something else, because when you're in Amsterdam, everybody knows you gotta have the French fries.
Naturally,
They have
with
great French
the mayonnaise
fries.
on top.
Yep. That's what you get. Travel tip: if you're going to Amsterdam, get the fries.
Get the fries; they're good.
Right.
And then the other thing is also, in addition to walking, biking is also an excellent way to travel around cities. I know Amsterdam; it's obviously very popular. Same in Paris. Many major cities have a bike share, so you can just rent the bike at one station, bike to another location, park it, and you're done.
That's it. You move on. You get exercise. You see the city. You're still out in the beautiful fresh air, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah, every major city I've been to has had it.
That's a travel
it's been
tip.
a wonderful
Travel tip.
Wonderful tip.
That's right. Well, one tip I think also I have is trust yourself. Until I left and went and did this by myself, I never thought, like, oh, I don't know if I could make it. I don't know if I should do that.
Yeah.
But when you're by yourself and you're walking around, you realize, hey, no one's going to harm you. It's the 21st century. When you travel, do you normally travel with a friend or alone?
I travel by myself.
Okay.
Because it's hard to find people outside of Turner that have the time off that we do.
Right.
And a lot of my friends are teachers, so their time that they're available doesn't match with mine. And one year I just was kind of like, you know what? I'm just going to go. Just see how it works.
It works out. It's easy.
Yeah, I went to Toronto by myself. I was like, it's like America, but not.
Right. It's a small step.
Small step. No, but it still is not connected to the, because you have to pay Canadian charges if you're using your phone. So that level of disconnecting was still there. And it worked out great.
Yeah.
I had no problems. It was fantastic. I love Canada.
Great. And then you have some photos you sent. It looks like we're going through now. Do you want to talk about them as they kind of go across?
Yeah, of course. This is Toronto. This is the Royal Ontario Museum. It is probably the coolest building I've ever seen.
So what's inside of that building?
It's a lot of art and then stuff from Ontario, which is I think it's the capital province in Canada. And so it just has a lot of Canadian artifacts and then also artwork.
So if you're watching this and you want to visit Toronto, go check out, what is this building called?
The Royal Ontario Museum.
The Royal Ontario Museum. Go check it out. What's another photo up. Let's take a look at your travel pics.
Oh man, I'm so excited.
This is great. I love it. It's like come on over to my house, Shannon, and show me your photos.
And honestly, some of these photos are actually, I have a wall in my house that's just full of photos that I've taken when I've been traveling.
Oh wow.
So it has probably like 100 pictures on it now.
I've mentioned before I have a photo album called Cool Dogs I've met.
Oh,
I also
yeah.
have a photo album called Zach Crane in Italy, and it's just I
Just
took about
pictures of
50
Zach.
pictures of Zach when he's in Italy. And that
He's a
picture of him
worthy
eating horse
subject.
meat is in there.
Oh, I'll have to look that up. Yeah, this is Seattle. I went there in March of this year.
So
and
that's the skyline to
Yeah,
Seattle.
from
Where
the
the heck were
boat.
you at? You were in a
I was on a
boat?
boat.
Where were you going?
I was drinking on a boat at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It was the
What?
best. It was like the best day of my
Were you
life.
secretly drinking? Like you brought a
No,
flask?
I
or-
was just openly drinking in a boat.
Wow. And they allow it?
Absolutely. Seattle
were you
loves
driving
the
the
beer.
boat?
No, I was not driving the boat.
What kind of boat was it? Like a big ship or like a smaller speedboat?
It was like a tourist boat, but it was like 2 stories. I mean, it was just great to like look back from the island and you see this.
Right.
So there's an island directly across from Seattle. I don't remember what it's called, but this is when we're on that side, and so you just look back and you can see the Space Needles kind of on the left.
Right. I see that over there.
And then all the stuff to the right is like downtown Seattle.
Okay. That makes sense. This is where they catch all the salmon out in those waters, right? And they bring them into the fish market.
I think so.
Right.
I'm not entirely
And you're
sure.
not far from Canada, and then
No.
Alaska's not far up there. It's a great spot to be,
It's
Pacific
great.
Northwest.
Yeah, my parents are actually going on a Alaskan cruise in August, and they port out of Vancouver, but
Oh,
they're
wow.
going to go to Seattle, then go up to Vancouver and go up to Alaska and come back down.
What a trip.
They're very excited.
Bring a jacket.
They have a couple.
But it shouldn't be as cold as you'd think
Well,
it is, though,
they're
right? It
from-
rains a lot.
Yeah. Well, they're from Florida, so it will be cold.
Okay, fair enough. What about the next photo? What do we got
Let's
here?
see. This is in San Francisco.
Oh, if I would have had guessed, I would have thought you had already been to Japan.
I know, yeah, that's what you would think looking at it. But this one park actually had all of these different kind of enclaves of meditation gardens and things like that. And I walked up to it and I was like, I feel like I'm in Japan, but
Yeah.
no,
And it's almost transparent. You can
Francisco.
see through it.
you can
like
see my
it's-
mouth
right.
moving
It's
behind
like
the flowers.
That's really neat.
Yeah,
It's almost like that you're a deity
I
behind the
am.
door. Come into this
I am.
castle, please.
Yeah, so it was actually really great meditation space and calming space, kind of off the beaten path too. So it's actually away from most of the city of San Francisco. So it was really beautiful.
Wow. I was thinking about bringing actual photos. Another person who actually travels a lot besides you is Zach Crane.
Of
I was
course.
thinking of bringing photos of Zach and that he took that he's not in, and just saying they were mine because he's been to Thailand and
He's been
other
to so many
places.
places.
So I was going to put this is mine, but I have to be honest, not going to do that.
It's fair.
Let's take a look if there's another one here. Oh, it's a selfie. There you
I
are.
did. This was the only selfie I took.
Where is this at? I see almost creatures
This
behind
is
you.
the
Are those
Musée de
statues?
Rodin in Paris.
Okay.
So Rodin, the famous sculptor, he has his old house is just full of sculptures that he's made in his entire life. So this one room, it actually was very empty when I went because it was February, and I was like, this looks really cool. I look like I'm with ghosts.
Right.
That was actually why I took it, because I felt like I was almost like a ghost-like quality. And the mirror it was from the 1800s, so it was covered with like, I guess some of the reflectiveness had kind of come off, and
I
it just
see.
looked really cool.
Just falling apart.
I'm just in it to prove. I actually sent this to my mother to prove that I hadn't been kidnapped.
Gotcha.
It's very important.
That's the
You have
plot
to
of
have that
Talkin.
checks and balance.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Although my dad is not Liam Neeson, so you know,
If you were to be taken,
I don't know how
call
it would
Liam
go.
Neeson.
Yeah,
okay.
you have to call him Liam
Right.
Neeson.
Is there any more photos?
Oh yeah.
What about this one?
This is Notre Dame in Paris.
Wow.
No Quasimodo was available that day for pictures.
So the Hunchback of Notre Dame, that's where he rang the bell
This is where that went down. I went to school and studied art history, and so one of my favorite things to study was architecture, especially Gothic architecture,
Okay.
and this is the prime example of that.
So what's inside there? A church?
It's a church. It's covered in stained glass windows.
Okay.
On the outside, they have these weird things called flying buttresses that help keep it standing up.
Right, yes.
So this is just the view from the front.
If we could zoom in, there's some people, it looks like, some statues of people. They look like the characters from
It
the
almost
Game
looks
of
like
Thrones,
Game of Thrones, right?
The faces.
Yeah, so I think these are probably, I don't remember, but a lot of them are probably stories, like they're telling stories from the Bible. They're probably saints, disciples. That one in the middle, the portal in the middle on the bottom,
Right.
that's like one of the stories of Jesus Christ. I think it's his resurrection story.
Wow.
So they would use in Gothic times, they would use the architecture to help tell stories, because a lot of times people couldn't read, but you can always see the outside of a building. So when paper wasn't super available, printing press hadn't been invented, this was the way that they would share their
I
stories.
see. So it would be, say, if we were to do this, so just jumping back, if you're just now joining us, I pitched a show, it's No Limits, Anthony Bourdain with Zach White. If we were to promote it, like on buildings,
Yeah.
I would love to try and promote it on ancient buildings, old buildings in Europe or South America or in Asia, that have images like that of statues, or people who might not want to go inside and read about it, like, what is this show all about? And it's just a statue of me and Anthony Bourdain, and we're traveling.
Yeah, I feel like you have to
Put it outside their church or their art museum.
Yeah, you have to have like a journal or something and some kind of like map that you have to have, just to kind of really help people get the full story of what your show is about.
A statue of that on an old memorial. There would people be taking photos of it. Who was this historical figure? And then we'll pay people to stand outside each building and say, no, that's Zach White. He's doing a show called No Limits.
Some brand ambassadors.
Would do you think that would be something we could?
I think
put
it's
in a
something
budget
we
for a
can
show?
look into.
Okay.
I think so.
If we were to get approved.
Absolutely. I think it's wonderful.
That's great. I can't wait. I have a lot of travel tips, and I'm giving them away today, and I'm sharing them. If you're just now tuning in, you're joining us live with Shannon McKnight. She's a manager. She's in charge of people here at Adult Swim and sponsorship marketing.
Yes.
She also loves to travel. So do I. And today, it's summertime. We're talking about traveling.
We're talking about travel. And
you're in school. Take some time off. Go travel.
Yeah. This is another picture that I took when I was in London 5 years ago. Actually, 5 years ago, as of last week.
That's Old Ben, right?
Big Ben. Mm-hmm. Peter Pan. You'll recognize this.
Right. They go up and hang on the
minute hand.
Yep. It's time to move it, they said.
Yeah. And so
that was his job. He always had to move it each minute when it would break. They'd fly up. Time to move it, Peter. Is that true?
I don't think so.
Oh.
But we'll let it slide.
But what's so famous and important about this? How old is this? How long has this been around for?
I have no idea. It's adjacent to it's like kind of near Parliament, but it's also near Westminster Abbey. So I'm pretty sure it's important just based on all of those things being centralized. But I don't know much about Big Ben. I really should.
Okay.
We should look that up.
An investigative piece on Big Ben.
Oh, I think that's something you could cover in your show.
Right.
It would be wonderful.
Well, I was thinking No Limits. We would stand out down at the bottom of it, and we'd maybe tie a zip line up to the top.
Oh,
zip
definitely.
line down, back and forth.
And then you can zip line across the Thames and just go all the way across.
That'd be great.
Right?
See, I don't know the geography as well. I've never been to London.
So the Big Ben is on the north side of the Thames.
Okay.
And that's where like the Parliament building and a lot of that stuff is. And the south side is where they have like the London Eye, that giant like Ferris wheel.
Oh yes, correct.
That's on the that's almost like a catty corner to where Big Ben is. So you could just zip line between the two, make a day out of it.
Fascinating.
It's wonderful.
One tip or trick I think it's important to talk about is before you travel.
Yes.
Finding the place to go.
Absolutely.
I use the Explorer feature on kayak.com. You're not taking a kayak to your destination, silly. You're flying. It's just called kayak. Kayak.com. Check it out. Book for your flights, hotel, or a rental car. I use the Explorer feature on kayak. You put in, it's really great. You put in how much money you're willing to spend.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll put in, I'm willing to spend $800 on a plane ticket. That's it. No more.
That's it. All right.
That's it. That's all I want to spend. And then you put the time of the month or the time of year you want to go. So you can either put July, August, September, October, or you can do fall, winter, spring, 2016, 2017. So right now I want to lock in September 2016.
Okay.
And it'll show me, I'll zoom out on the map, and it'll show me all the airports I can fly into for under $800.
That's wonderful.
Most of the airports are in the U.S., but every now and then
you'll get a good deal.
I'll find one, and I found one recently that I could fly to Istanbul, Turkey for
Oh.
$600.
Yeah, I actually got a similar flight deal recently from Delta. Thank you, Delta.
Do you want to do a
For
commercial for Delta,
I-
like an advertisement?
I should, but no, we'll move on. But Delta, I got a flight to Spain for November for $700 to Madrid.
Wow.
So sometimes it's luck of the draw. But I did in a similar fashion, not on Kayak, but on Google Flights. You can basically choose a month, choose a destination. Within that, it'll tell you how much flights will be during that month, and you can move throughout the year and see, oh, the flight is really expensive in January. Won't go January. But the flight's in June. I can go in June.
Okay.
So it's nice. If you have a place in mind that you're like, I really want to go here.
Right.
When is the best time to go based on flights? That's the way to look about it.
And for me, it's all about how much money can I save? I want to be able to tell people I went to this country and spent under $1,000 and stayed there for 2 weeks. I only ate street food, hot dogs.
That's the best way to
Right.
experience it
For a couple of
sometimes.
euros, you get that, maybe a Coke. You're on the road to
Oh, yeah.
happiness.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. So one thing that is always great, I think, about traveling for me is also number one, the shock that you initially get.
Mhm.
And as I mentioned earlier, we've talked a lot about international travel, but I'd like to take it back and do domestic travel.
Let's do it.
I've been out to the West many times. It was
Mhm.
the easiest and cheapest way for me to travel when I was younger. I would drive. I had a semi-reliable vehicle. I trusted it and drove it from Missouri out to California twice. And then one trip that I think I always would do this to impress people at the distance. I'm sure someone else has done it in chat. And if you have, give me a call and let me know if I'm wrong or I shouldn't be proud of this. And actually, Bunch of Crunch just asked, coolest drive you ever had in your life? And right now, this is probably the coolest drive. I went from St. Louis, Missouri, where I'm from. I drove all the way to Los Angeles, California. And then I drove back to St. Louis. If you look at it on a map, we're in the middle of the country.
Mhm.
And then about 2 days later, my friend said, hey, do you want to drive to New York? I have to drop off something. It wasn't drugs, but it was something. It was his aunt's car.
Okay.
She left her car in Missouri. And okay, yeah, so we drove to New York and back. So we went coast to coast and back to Missouri.
That's awesome.
And then another trip, I think I added up, it was 6,000 miles in 2 weeks on my vehicle.
Wow.
And that was the coolest drive I've ever been on, where you drive for 14 hours and you're out in the middle of Wyoming, or you're driving
Yeah.
through Utah and the Salt Flats. We got
Mhm.
stuck in the Salt Flats once.
There are worse places to be stuck.
I wish I had a picture of this. I don't think I had it, but the Salt Flats, if you're not familiar, it's a big sandy desert area with huge, dark, menacing mountains in the background. It's in Utah, right outside of Salt Lake City. If you see a car commercial and you see the cars driving and racing and they're in the desert,
That's where
that's
it is.
probably the Salt
Mhm.
Flats, because I'd recognized it. And as I was out there, I looked it up on my Siemens phone. Do you remember the Siemens company
do.
phone?
I do
That was the phone
remember
I had
those.
at the time.
Oh,
I
man.
searched. I don't even think Google was on there. I just searched the internet for Salt Flats, and it said, yeah, car commercials are filmed here. So I told my friend who was driving, yeah, they filmed it here. He said, let's drive over there. And he just slowly pulled off to the side of the highway, got off the shoulder, and he drove into the Salt Flats.
There they are.
Yep.
They're so beautiful. I
And-
just love the mountains in the background. I think that's the best part about traveling so I'm from Florida, where there's no geographical interest in anything.
Right.
But when I get to travel and go to the West Coast or even to the Midwest, like you see hills and mountains and such beautiful
Sure.
things. And it's just
Right here in Georgia, even, you have the North
yeah,
Georgia
North
mountains.
Georgia. So it's just interesting to kind of see that change
Right.
in like what the landscape looks like. I think that's awesome. That's like the best part probably about doing road trips. I know, speaking of doing your favorite drive, mine was when I was in middle school. My aunt took my cousins and I on a road trip from Florida all the way to Albuquerque, New
Okay.
Mexico,
Yeah.
and Arizona, and we went to Grand Canyon, kind of looped around,
Beautiful.
came back.
One of my favorite national parks.
Grand Canyon. I just love Arizona. I think it's so beautiful and it's so interesting. And same with New Mexico. They're so different from everywhere else we have in
Right.
the United States. So it was And I just remember the whole scenery. It gets kind of boring at times. Just you're seeing a lot of trees,
Sure.
seeing a lot of swamp in the Louisiana area. But then you just get out to that expanse in Texas, and it's just
Big
wide
sky.
open space. Yeah, and it's something that I was not accustomed to coming from Florida. We don't have that.
Right.
You know, we're a bunch of suburbs just spread out all through Florida. So it was a really unique experience, and I'm glad I did it when I was in middle school because I felt like that was a jump start for me appreciating differences in difference in culture and just
Right.
experiencing different things.
And you don't have to pay a lot of money to go travel internationally. You can do it for pretty cheap. If gas prices are low, or you can figure out, get more friends to come with you and split the gas. It's a great way to see the world, and we have a lot of great sites here in the West. And actually, if people in the chat are worried about me, about that story about the salt flats, we did get stuck. We were there for a few hours, and we couldn't get out. My friend called AAA, his insurance company. They sent out a tow truck driver. They pulled us out. We gave the tow truck driver a Gatorade for helping us out.
That was very considerate.
I think he just kind of smiled like, dumb kids, and he left and went about his day. But we got to put our feet in the salt flats. It was hot outside. It's a really fun opportunity. And then I think the second best drive I was on was when I got to California. I drove down Highway 101 and saw the Pacific Ocean from San Francisco to Los Angeles. That was beautiful.
That's a beautiful drive.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Penile System says Kansas is boring to drive through, just a bunch of nothing. And I'd hate to say that for anyone who's watching from Kansas, but I almost have to agree.
I also agree.
It's a boring state. I remember driving, I set it on cruise control, and I barely had to touch the steering wheel.
Yeah, my family.
And just let my car run down the highway.
Absolutely.
Hello, welcome to the William Street Swap Shop. You're on a wonderful Wednesday. Who are you?
I'm Decree. It's been a while.
Decree, what's going on? It has been a while. I just mentioned to Matt yesterday that we haven't heard from you in a while.
I was actually talking to my boss the other day. He's like, "When's the last time you've been on the swap shop?" Because I was wearing my Pizza Life deal
that's
shirt.
Right. How have you been?
I've been good. I had a baby, and well, I didn't have a baby, but my lady and I had a baby, so I've been kind of just doing that. And just been working a lot.
Congratulations.
Is that your first child?
Thanks. Yeah.
Oh wow, congratulations! You're a pop now.
Yeah, I love being a pet. It's wonderful.
That's great. So how did it just happen?
Yeah, no, he's a little over a month.
Okay, I remember you mentioning that you were expecting a child last time we had talked. You said you were going to name. Did you still stick with the name you had for him?
Yeah, Finley.
Nice. That's a great Finley.
Finley. That's a nice name.
It's a nice name.
Thanks, guys.
You're welcome.
But I actually used to live in Wendover, Nevada. You were talking about the salt flats, and I was like, oh, I used to live like right outside the salt flats, and they have like a bunch of like racing tournaments and stuff like that during the summer there, and it's really, really fun.
Right. Have you ever tried to drive out into the salt flats and got stuck?
I actually have not gotten stuck, but back when I was a kid, we used to have like little dirt bikes, and we'd go out and play with them, and I cut my foot on some glass one time, but
that doesn't sound
never got stuck.
Well, now you live, for viewers who are not familiar with you, and for Shannon who may not be familiar, Decree is one of our top swappers. He lives. You live in Idaho, and he.
Yes.
I've heard Idaho is beautiful.
Right. We've seen pictures that he sent in, and just from the background, I'm a little jealous. Just out the window of their house, I see like the mountaintops, and I think, wow. I look outside, I see trees, but they get mountains.
Yeah. I look outside, I see trees too. Yeah, but mountains would be. I would trade
the
trees
very far
for
distance.
mountains.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, you definitely, if you ever come out this way, definitely stop by, go camping, and check out our lakes and our mountains, and maybe enjoy a fish or two, or
Absolutely.
It's fun out here. Got some buddies out here who do a lot of the fishing.
So did you get to see a chance to see the beginning where I showed the No Limits this pitch video to Shannon, the show I'm trying to work on?
I liked it. It's a really good idea.
It seems like something that might work if you go to Idaho, because I hear it's very interesting out there, and there might be a chance for a zipline opportunity.
I could meet up with Decree and
Absolutely.
IRL. I'll talk to our executives and see if we can put it in the budget, and Decree, it would be great to come out and visit, and we could host the show together. Go trout fishing.
I'd be more than that. I would be more than happy to. I've never been ziplining, so that'd be a new experience.
That would be fun.
That would be great.
Well, I'll start researching some zip lining near you, and it'll be a success, a big hit, smash.
I think so.
That'd be awesome.
So how's your little son doing? Does he watch the Swap Shop as well?
Yeah, he was watching a little bit with me, but then he decided to take a nap because it's time. But yeah, he was enjoying the swap shop.
Fair
He was hanging out.
Great.
He was like, okay, because I drew a picture of you guys and it's on my fridge, and he's always asking me who these guys are. And
Wow.
So now he knows.
You could say, I don't mind if you'd like to say it, that I'm their uncle, his uncle, or a godfather or something like that. I can assume I have the respect and power.
Oh yeah, you and Matt
Sense.
both, Uncle Zach and Matt. That's what it is. They swap.
That would be great. Why not?
Of course.
Yeah. Well, Decree, thank you for calling in. It's good to hear from you. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss? We only got a few minutes left.
No, you're fine. I wanted to tell you, I've never really traveled very far, but I went to the East Coast, went to Seattle. I mean, not Seattle, but friggin' Illinois once,
Okay.
and I was there for my birthday, and it was kind of it was a really bad time. I was kind of sick at the same time,
Right.
but I've never been there, went to see my grandma, but the only really cool thing that really happened when I was there, I went outside to go get some ice at the little hotel, and there's these guys, these people were having sex in the pool, and I was like, well, that's lovely, and then I got my ice and went back to bed. I mean,
People, yeah. What city in Illinois?
St. Louis.
Oh, okay. East St. Louis?
I'm not entirely
Okay.
sure.
I'm from St. Louis. No, it's okay. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri.
Zach represents
East
the
St.
STL.
Louis is in Illinois, and it's got a lot of vice
It does.
there, a lot of things for people to do. But that's great. St. Louis is a beautiful city, a lot of old brick buildings, and that's one thing I think as we're about to wrap up the show. It's even if you don't have a car, you can't get out, and you say traveling sounds fun. Just go walk around your town, find something. There's something in those buildings that will speak to you, or something in that old tree that has a spirit in it, just waiting to talk to you.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for letting me on the show. You guys do great work. Keep it up.
Thank you, Decree.
Shannon, right?
Yes. Thank you very much for calling in.
Of course, you guys, like I said, do wonderful work. Keep it up.
Thank you, Decree.
Thank
Have a
you.
great afternoon. It's a pleasure hearing from you, and hopefully you call in tomorrow or Friday when Matt and I are here, and we can have a discussion with you, for both of us.
I would love to.
Okay, great. Give us a call
Later,
tomorrow or
guys.
Friday. Thank you. See you later, Decree.
I will.
Yeah, I think,
Bye, bud.
Bye-bye.
yeah, I think Finley needs to hear from his uncles
Right.
tomorrow. I think
And,
that's very important.
I have a very special message for him.
I think it'll be beautiful.
Yes. We're about to wrap up the show. It's only a little bit of time left, and I just wanted to thank you, Shannon, for coming on, showing your travel photos, and discussing and giving tips and tricks. I know a few people in chat have already said, I'm going to kayak.com. I'm checking out the deals. They got a lot of great deals on kayak.com.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people, I think, are hopefully excited to travel. Take the reins in your hand and go travel. You can't fly a plane, but get on that plane, get to another country, get in a car, go check out another state, a national park. It's time, it's summertime. Try and make time away from your job or your life. Just take a breath and relax. If I could, I would have taken you somewhere today, but soon I'll take you on my new show, New Limits, Anthony Bourdain with Zach White. It's going to be a smashing success. And Shannon, you think it's going to be great?
I think it's going to be wonderful. I will be sure to tune in weekly.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Shannon, and thank you for
Zach.
watching at home or wherever you've been watching or calling in. Thank you for chatting. We hope you had a great afternoon, a great day ahead of you. Have a wonderful Wednesday. It's a deal. Stick around for crosswords at 2 p.m. I'll be back tomorrow with Matt at 1. You want to say it's a deal?
It's a deal.
It's a deal.